I'm tired.
The Late Morning Program with Nam Ras Podcast.
So this is good?
This is good.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, everyone. You're listening to the Nam Ras Podcast, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world, undisputed. I'm so honored to have Brajendranandan Prabhu here, my old friend. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for coming.
Okay. I'm Das only. No Prabhu.
For me, you're Prabhu. So I know Brajendranandan Prabhu for maybe 15 years, maybe less, a little bit less now. And you just have a really interesting story of your spiritual life. I try to usually stay away from how I joined, but your story from when you joined ISKCON till now is so interesting to me. And I think it's worth speaking about.
Okay.
And just put the mic closer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I just think it's so interesting. And into ISKCON, out of ISKCON, then into Gaudiya Vaishnava Parivars, just how the whole journey is so interesting to me. So that's what I want to talk about. But let's just start off. How did you join? How did you come in contact with devotees initially? How old were you? Oh, your time with Aindra Prabhu was very interesting.
Right. So I was very young by some extraordinary kripa. This lifetime I met the Vaishnavas as a teenager in Southern California. I was skating in Leucadia, and I was out at the beach in the sunset and just watching the sunset on the rocks of Stone Steps Beach. And just down the hill was my friend's house, who went on to become a yoga teacher, but his mother was like a hippie and an active member of the San Diego temple community then. And she would have Dravida Das ji come to the house on Fridays and just chant Harinam. So my first experience I saw the devotees on Harinam once as a kid, but then was just straight from the hip, like directly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's messenger poetry. Like Dravida was there singing. I walked into the Kunja Bihari Ashtakam by Rupa Goswami, which this verse, Indranila mani manjulavana pulani pakasu Krishna labhira krishorasi hari sundaro jayati kunja vihari. And so Dravida Das is like, do you know him? His voice, and he's like an amazing personality. Yeah. And it just captivated my mind. The Sanskrit rhythm, the poetry, his delivery, and also the meaning. There's the direct description of Krishna, without, some people have a natural affection to like the supreme, so for the first time in the Kunja Bihari Ashtakam, I kind of could feel that in my life. So it was like a magnet to my mind. Mm-hmm. And the verses go on really sweet. So from there, I just, in high school, chanting Hare Krishna, chanting Japa with all those people of the San Diego community, Dravida. I was too young to stay at the temple. So How
old were you?
17.
Wow.
So they had me, I would spend weekends at the temple in high school. So the BTG guys were like, you can stay with us, no problem. And so I was like staying with Jayadvaita Swami, Sridhar Swami, Dravida, Archita, Yamaraj. And it was insane. I was like, I slept in the closet and it was great, and they all just kind of took me under their wing,
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And I served in ISKCON for many years with, Badrinarayan Dasji, who became Badrinarayan Swami now. Mm-hmm. he was a huge influence on my life in terms of just like practical day-to-day Thakurji Seva in the temple, you know, and taught me how to worship the Giraj Shila at first, you know. I mean, he brought the Giraj Shila to San Diego. He didn't teach me, but he would bring flowers and here's the instructions, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a sweet community, the San Diego community then. Yeah. So for many years I was just there.
And then how did you end up in Braj in Vrindavan? Another thing about you that I really appreciate is your love for Vrindavan. It's like very, what's the word? It's like kinetic. It's like it rubs off on you. It's really nice. And
That's from Aindra Das, I think. You know, I don't know what it is, but my Gurudev said that there's the bowl that Radharani's Kripa and Krishna's Kripa is always showering down, pouring down tumultuously, and it's just a matter of turning the bowl to catch a few drops. So somehow,
I love that.
Somehow by the mercy of Braj Tam, I caught a few drops to love for Braja, you know, like this. But
how did you go to Vrindavan? Like, what was your first experience?
I just like so many things just like captivated me along in my life in bhakti, and one of the things was Dravida Das. The next thing was seeing the Giraj Shila, and then Aindra's voice, the Vrindavan Mellows, you know, Vrindavan Mellows. When I heard Vrindavan Mellows, I was just like, this is it, you know. I was secretly worship one small Govardhan Shila at that time. And I would play the Vrindavan Mellows tape, you know. And so, you know, we were young guys. Like I was probably 17, 18. Like as soon as I finished high school, that day I moved into the temple. And so we were like the young devotees, like 18-year-olds or a couple other 18-year-olds that joined at the same time as me. Old Southern California skaters, and just like, you know, it was a fun group, you know, there in Southern California at that time. And everybody was going to Vrindavan, and it was very like mostly medieval buildings in the 1990s. It was still kind of like Raman Reti was Raman Reti. Like Bhaktivedanta Marg was like sand, and the rickshaw wheels would get like stuck in the sand, and peacock feathers would be in the sand, and it was just cooling sands in the evening on your toes. But you know, so all these stories would come back. So it was like there was no way to avoid the strong desire to reach Vrindavan, you know. And then so I don't know, maybe I was 19 or something the first time I went to Braja, and instantly I saw Aindra Das in the temple courtyard, you know. Like, I had no idea what he looked like because there was no social media, and the only pictures you had is like snapshots that if they came out. So, you know, I saw him for the first time. I was like, who's that guy? They were like, oh, that's Aindra. He was talking to some sannyasi with like his really big, thick socks on, and 1993 with like those ankle bells, Bharatanatyam ankle bells, and the harmonium strapped over his shoulder in the like, kind of like Babaji style beige he would like to wear, you know. So, but it was like, wow, this counterculture kind of like personality within like the society of ISKCON was insane. Because usually you see that all throughout Vrindavan, but not inside the ISKCON complex, you know. Right. So it was striking, and I went to get, you know, go see him. So I went. Bhagavat Prana was like, oh, you should go see. He was my friend from Boston. We did Sankirtan together, book distribution, you know, sometimes in Boston. Yeah. And Ramananda Roy was there too. So like I had some friends from there who were in Vrindavan, and they encouraged me, oh, you should go talk to Aindra. I'm sure he would really like to, you guys would really get along. I was like, really? Okay. And his room was like, have you heard, like there were drawings on the door? and that were like, go away. Like, no, it said, if you at all value your spiritual life, don't enter. You know, and like there was the Bhakti stove that's famous, but there was also a drawing of like a scary face that there was said, be warned, go away, and all this kind of stuff. Like, really, you were not wanted. Don't come in. Yeah. But I said, there's a Bhagavad Gita. Oh, did you go? Did you go? Yeah, I went to see him, but you know, the signs were there. I'm not going in, you know. And so he said, no, you should go back. And when I knocked on the door, he was the sweetest person and I ever met, and made such a huge impression on my life, you know. I mean, we didn't spend much time together now that I look back on all the years, you know, but like his impact was like profound on, I think, many people's lives. That Aindra Das Ji, even in a small amount of time, could make a life-changing impact on a person, I think. So, you know.
Did you live in the 24-hour kirtan?
Briefly, for periods of time, you know. I would, so in 1995, I ended up back in Vrindavan, and Bhagavad Prana said, if you want service, come join the 24-hour kirtan department. And I said, yes. So I joined, you know, and no, 95, 96, something like that, 96 maybe. And then, and we were there for a while. 94, I spent some time with that. Whenever I would go to Vrindavan, I would just hang out with Aindra, hang out in his room, talk in his room, wait for everyone to leave. And then and then talk some more. Because Aindra had a very, like, against that, correct that, that's the wrong thing, you know, side. But after that was the sweetest side of Rasikata, just the sweetest subject matter, you know, past that's not it, but what is it? And what is in that? And that was like his favorite topic. But when all the other conversations would leave, then that topic would come out. And that was my favorite. And we would stay up talking. So, I mean, there were some times where our conversations were so epic that I would stay till the Guru Puja one time. We were talking till Guru Puja the next day from the evening. And then sometimes I had the night shift, you know, and they would say, then my name is Bhagwan Das. Oh, Bhagwan Das, your shift is now, you know, 1:30 to 3:30. I would say, just go, can you cover it tonight? We're talking, can you see? And like, so it was like that. It was like, it was just great.
Was it mostly you listening, or was it like you talking also?
It was talking. It was conversational. And it
Really?
was, it was shining, polishing the gem, understanding the subjects, you know, because there's one thing just to be told and listen, but there's another thing to discuss and like, oh, but that Russ, that's not the Russ that I can understand. Like, how is it possible? And he would say, hold on. He had many secret things in his room. Like nowadays, they're all the books translated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it was also like he had books that were not published, that were translated, or a tape recording of somebody that had translated a book that would read it. And so a lot of the times he would be like, wait, digging up different stuff, showing me like some of the secret little things in his room. You know, I can't remember so much of it, but it pointed me further in the direction of my heart. All these things are there in the poems of Narottam Das Thakur, Raghunath Das Goswami, these kind of topics, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just what we would discuss, you know, chanting japa and all those kind of things.
Were there other Americans at the time?
Ramananda Roy was there.
Ram Roy, yeah.
Ram Roy. And he was secretly tape recording things.
The conversations.
Yeah. And I was like, what? This guy's recording conversations. Like, but he because it would pop and be like, and then he would walk out of the room and then come back after he flipped the tape over and stuff. But not the late night ones. I was like, man, is he a spy for the GBC? That's what I thought. I thought Back then I thought that, but no, Ram Rai. So yeah, it was great. Like Aindra Das. And so here's the thing. This is the next point.
Yeah.
So the kirtan department was very poor, and like so poor. And at that time in 1996, every department was expected to be financially independent at the Krishna Balaram temple. Maybe it's like that today as well. But Aindra's kirtan was popular in the kitchens of temples and in like the Brahmachari's tape collection or whatever, or like I'm sure all the ISKCON devotees' tape collections. But it wasn't a moneymaker, you know what I mean? And there weren't people would come to the temple to give a donation to a Pujari department in the Hundi for this or that, but like cow seva, but there wasn't like a box for the kirtan department. But so Aindra was constantly perplexed. How are we going to pay for everyone's prasadam? They want us to pay for the prasad, everyone's meals.
They had to pay for the kirtan department's meals?
Yeah, and the meal tickets were a thing, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe that was later, but and like soap. If you wanted soap, Aindra would say, "Here's the Brajraj, this is the best soap. Like this is the soap of the Goswamis. We use Brajraj,
Wow.
Narottam would arrange fresh, soft Raj for Lokanath Goswami. So surely you can take Brajraj for soap. Or like toothpaste, he would give you salt. Or like if you needed a toothbrush, he would say, there's a neem tree over there. You just grab one branch and smash it. And then, and that was fine. But then he was very stressed out about like mridangas needing repair, harmoniums needing repair, needing new kartals and everything. So I was like, man, there's a thing coming out called CDs, and it's going to be the next, it's going to be the next big thing,
Listen up, kids.
It's going to be the next big thing. And he was like, what? I was like, for sure. And, so we came up with we devised this plan to like raise funds, for the 24-hour kirtan by selling CDs of Vrindavan Mellows. He didn't even realize that all his kirtan was famous all over the world, that people were listening to it. I don't think he really realized that at that time. And I said, we put it on CD. I could go back to America, travel with the Festival of India, and sell these CDs. I was a young guy, I was like overly ambitious or something, but I really just wanted to help Aindra Das because he was sitting there suffering. I mean, he was there in Braj doing the kirtan, but constantly perplexed, always. It was it would interrupt the Krishna Katha, his concern with money, Right. And so, I was like, it's simple. The solution is simple. You make the CDs, you sell them, done. Come back. This many CDs sells for that much. Here's the math. Here's the numbers. So, of course, we were broke, and we would have had to borrow $3,000 from someone to do this. We had to remaster the tapes and then press the CDs. So, before he borrowed the money, we went to go see an astrologer. So, had done Govardhan Parikram that day, had a wonderful time, and spent the night at Radha Kund. And he was looking for me. So when I got back to the ashram, they said, where have you been? We have to go see an astrologer in Mathura, and we're late. It's sunset. He can't do things, like certain things he can't do. But whatever you do, be careful, because he can read your mind. He can read minds. And if you've been thinking anything crazy, it's probably too late. And I was thinking to myself, what? That's crazy, because if somebody can read my mind, then they can really know me for who I am. I said, that's a really wonderful thing and exciting. So I was all about it, and quite surprised, He said, we're going to go check to see. It's like an insurance policy. So we went to go see this astrologer. I later realized was my Sadguru, my guru of my Atma, myself. But, so we went there and we sat there. We got there
This
late.
is the first time you met him?
Yeah, it's the first time I met him. So Aindra Das took me there. He said, "You," his son answered the door and he said, "It's very late. The sun is set and my father can't speak to Katyayani. If Katyayani is after night, he can't speak to her." So he's a Jyotish. He retired from Jyotish, but he would do Jyotish for the people, speak to the goddess mother Katyayani for questions that couldn't be answered by astrology or couldn't be answered by a metaphysical breathing science way of understanding everything. So it was just always, if we ask to the goddess, then you get the right answer. So Aindra always used to ask Katyayani, a lot of stuff, So he said, "We can't talk to the goddess, and it's kind of like it's too late." And so he came in, sat down, chanted some mantras, and then Aindra said, "This is Bhagavan Das. He wants to go do this in America, and we have to borrow this money, and he'll make these tapes. I mean, they'll take these tapes, make the CDs." He explained it in a way that, because I think my Guru Maharaj couldn't even understand the CD idea at that point. He'd be like, "Whatever, you're going to change the recording and then sell it, but raise money." He said, can he do it? And he said, "Yes." And we were all like, "Oh." He said, "But not for 14 years. And we were like, "What?" And he was like, and by that time he looked at Aindra and he said, "You'll be dead and gone." And we were just like, "What?" Like, definitely not what we wanted to hear. And shocking, But Aindra was never scared of death. He was always like, if he would sometimes say, "Why is Krishna so cruel that he keeps me in this body? When there's so many ways that I could just leave this world and return to the Nitya Leela, But every day that goes by, and he would sometimes, he would become quite sad about it, So when we heard that, I know that in his heart, he was like, "Oh, okay, so only within 14 years, then I'll see Radhe Shyam," So part of him must have been thinking like that, but, like he, and then he said, "But in the time between now and then, this is what will happen to Bhagavan Das." And at that time I was a brahmachari living in India, and all the things were so shocking and certainly not the direction that I saw my life going,
He gave like details?
Details, yeah. At like so many things. And for those 14 years, like clockwork of like steps, this, that, and that. And then after the 14 years, returning to Vrindavan, and at that time become his disciple. And after becoming his disciple, this thing and that thing could occur, and this and that. And even to this day, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Even to this day, it continues. But it was so much, like, it just sounded crazy at that time, to both of us. We were like, what are we going to do? And he said...
So you're saying that everything that he saw in that moment that was going to happen, happened?
That was the thing, yeah. So I lived that, So I left, when Aindra and I left, we said, I'll get back to that. When Aindra and I left, he said, "Oh," we left, I said, "Geez, that's really not what I wanted to hear." And he said, "Me neither." I said, "So what do we do? Forget the whole thing?" He said, "No, let's just chant Hare Krishna and hope for the best."
Wow.
And and we just decided to do that. And so, he told me also that these things would happen unless I was to get 2 stones, right? One was a cat's eye or a tiger's eye, something like that, set in gold, and another stone set in gold. And I mean, for guys that just have borrowed $3,000 trying to make like fundraising off of such a small amount like that, that was like almost the entire budget, it would seem like, to get gold rings,
Yeah.
So like there was no chance. So, yeah. And exactly what happened. He said I lived for those 14 years and beyond. But during those years, what happened was I came back to America and I just entered like regular life after, like we see so many times in ISKCON, people join living in the ashram, they do their studies and they become familiar with the brahmacharya thing.
Yeah.
But then just like their karmas and their personality and who they are in life, and they pursue the fulfillment of themselves and their karmas and things like that. Not everyone's meant to be sannyasi or like this, or actually Kali Yuga, they say, whatever. I don't want to get into anything like that stuff, but like Kali Yuga, they say no need for sannyas, just the Krishna Maha Mantra, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
So, and I just lived it through college, through all the
So wait, so you went back to college?
I went to art school, yeah. Came here, went to art school, the whole like artist life, all that kind of stuff. But the thing was that as I saw, there were things he said, all knowledge will be lost, there will be intoxication, sometimes he'll be at death's door. And after those 14 years, he'll return to Vrindavan. And after becoming my disciple, this, that, and that will happen.
Wait, he said that you will be his disciple at that time?
At that time, he said the things that have happened today. He said, and the thing that was crazy about it is just the day before, I actually met my Param Guru at Govardhan. And he said, oh, my disciple is outside. Bring him in the kutir. And I was like, what? So I was like, what is all these? I didn't understand. It was really perplexing.
Oh my God.
So my Gurudev's guru also identified me within these 2 days. So It was crazy. But it's a deeper story. But for another time,
Do you mind saying their names or no?
Oh, yes. So my Gurudev, Sri Radha Mohan Das Maharaj. Radha Mohan Das is famous in Braj as Siddha Raghunath Pandit. Siddha Raghunath Pandit. Siddha Baba, Siddha Ji Maharaj, like that. Radha Mohan Das.
And
his guru, Shri 108, Siddha Shri Madan Mohan Das Babaji Maharaj.
Okay.
Madan Mohan Das Babaji Maharaj compiled the Shri Gaur Govinda Ashtakaliya Leela Smaranam Gutika in Bengali. It was written initially by Siddha Krishna Das Tatapad and passed down in a handwritten tradition for many, centuries, or for a long time. And so, there have been some scribal errors and different things passing it down, additions, omissions. And my great grandfather guru, Siddha Shri Sakhicharan Das Babaji Maharaj, he went to great measures to find a pure Gutika. He was able to find a copy from one of the disciples, grandsons of Siddha Krishna Das Tatapad. And he walked like, the stories there, but he was like only in bhajan. And Radharani appeared to him, but he compiled this Gutika, and when he left the world, gave it to his disciples and said to my Param Gurudev, Madan Mohan Das Babaji Maharaj, you please publish this. So he wrote it in Bangla.
So these are Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
These are Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
Could you say something about the lineage?
Yes, this is the Narottam Parivar.
Okay, Narottam
Parivar.
So for those of you who don't know, Narottam Parivar means the disciplic succession from Narottam.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so Panchatattva Parivars, there are 5 Parivars called Bhajan Parivars. So it means like there's Goshtianandi and Bhajananandi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates have like a mantra lineages, lines, right? That is like a Rag Bhakti.
Is it a seminal line?
No. There are seminal lines, but the Narottam Parivar is not seminal because Narottam had no children, and Lokanath Goswami also nothing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's a controversial fact, but it's a fact though. He gave Diksha to Lokanath Goswami, Prem Vilas stated a couple times, and also Advaita Prakash, So Mahaprabhu to Lokanath Goswami to Narottam Das Thakur, Ganganarayan Chakravarti, Krishna Charana Chakravarti, Kunja Bihari Chakravarti Thakur, Nidhi Acharya Thakur, Radha Mohana Thakur, Jagannatha Vidyalankar Thakur, Himeshwar Thakur, Sri Sakhi Charan Das Babaji Maharaj, Madan Mohan Das Babaji Maharaj, my Gurudev, Sri Radha Mohan Das Maharaj, and myself, Brajendranandan Das.
So you just named the lineage from Narottam Das Thakur?
From Mahaprabhu.
Wow.
Yeah. So in the Bhajan Parivar, Pranali means lineage, means the succession. You know? So like this, it's a part of the meditation actually, is through the Guru lineage, we serve Mahaprabhu and the Panchatattva like this.
I'd like to come back to this topic,
sure.
but could you explain a little bit more about those 14 years?
Yeah.
How you felt about Krishna consciousness, or just like you said, everything he said that came true.
Right. So I was heartbroken because I think a lot of people experience this just in the traditions that are so strongly fixed on vidhi and the ability to follow vidhi as a means of quantifying your qualification for bhakti, or that Krishna accepts you based on how well you follow a rule, which is completely false. That has no value whatsoever. In fact, the opposite. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, even Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can find this in Adi Lila, the Vidhi Bhakti doesn't satisfy me. I'm not satisfied as much as by the bhakti that transcends that. You see, so for me it was a time period of self-acceptance and realizing that, like, you know, it's a hard thing. You can't follow the rule. So how can Krishna accept me? Right? People, I think, are tormented by this a lot.
Oh, totally.
You know, and the thing is that is not the thing. The rule isn't it's your passion and it's your heart, and it's how are you drawn to Krishna, and that pull is bhakti, that passion is bhakti, and that is the thing that satisfies Krishna. That's the reason Mahaprabhu came, the internal reason, to give that passion pursuant bhakti. Raganuga means passion pursuant bhakti of Braj to the whole world. You know, so like is the thing. So, you know, in those 14 years, I never forgot my Gurudev one day, because I was living everything he said. I was, the astrologer told me this every new stage, you know, and I'm living and feeling this separation from how I wanted to live my life in Braj doing bhajan and just the pull to karmas in the material world, you know. And after 14 years, I somehow was like, I'm going to surprise Aindra Das. I'm going to come back to Braja for Kartik. And Bhagavat Purana was like, no, he's got an email. Like, you should just email him. He'd be so happy to hear from you, you know. Aindra was hardcore. He was like, art school. I called him. I was like, hey, I got accepted into Parsons, you know. It's like it's a good school, you know.
Yeah.
He was like, come on. He's like, you know how I feel about all that stuff. He's like, it's complete Maya. He said, you had the chance to do Nam Kirtan and in the Dham, and you decided to go somewhere else and do something else. He's like, it's useless and false, you know. But sometimes we have a reason why, you know.
Of course,
we have karmas and things. But anyhow, so I was like, it's too heartbreaking to talk to him. When I can go back and do bhajan, then I'll see him again. So I was kind of like, I'll see Aindra again. We'll do bhajan. So I didn't email him, and then I was going to surprise him, but then he surprised me and left the world. That was the year he left. And so I came back at that time anyways. And
that was 14 years?
That was 14 years. That was 14 years.
And also what Guruji said about him leaving,
right,
was also accepted as right?
That's correct, yes. So then I went back to the ashram, and he said, Bhagavan Das, you have returned.
Your Guruji said that?
Yeah. He said, you have returned.
He remembered.
Yeah. And he said, no. He gave me this long lecture. Anyhow, so many things. But yeah, so, you know.
So And when were you initiated in ISKCON?
So in ISKCON, I received Nam in 1992.
Okay.
1992.
And
93, 92, yeah.
and
92, yeah.
92. Okay. And then when all that stuff with Aindra Prabhu all happened, were you in touch with your spiritual master about anything, or was like...
No. I mean, yeah, like briefly. I mean, like, I think that I have so much gratitude towards Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, and I see them all as my Vartma Pradarshika gurus, you know. My Nam Guru, he showed me the path, you know, and Srila Prabhupada's great disciples showed me the path to my Gurudev. I see that as my Gurudev's Kripa. My Gurudev's Kripa came in the form of Dravida Das and A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Hridayananda Maharaj, my first giver of the holy name. You know, I see it like that. Yeah. But Hridayananda Maharaj, I've spoken with him. I told him about it, you know, after the fact. But yeah.
What was his reaction?
He was just like, you know, we all have to make our own decisions in life, and I guess we'll see each other in Golok. You know?
Wow.
You know,
Very broad-minded answer.
yeah. I mean, I expected him to be really excited. I was like, hey, I received initiation into like another Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage. You know, like maybe you're interested. You know, like, but. He wasn't like, wow, that's awesome. He was like, what? That's what you called to tell me? You know, but yeah, because I wasn't apologetic. I mean, I for so many reasons that are completely metaphysical and tangible in terms of taste and things, like I know that this is my Gurudev and my Guru Parivar, you know, my lineage. And so I feel really grateful to ISKCON and all the Vaishnava Sanghas.
I feel like I see online how sometimes devotees, like, who are obviously not from India, they kind of badmouth ISKCON and they're from the Parivars. And I think, like, if it wasn't for ISKCON, you wouldn't have you don't know anything about Krishna, first of all.
Sure.
But in your mood, I really like that you're just very grateful and you don't have anything negative really to say. You're just very grateful that you found your home ultimately through ISKCON and Prabhupada and things like that. I think that's a very mature way of looking at it.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, you know, my Param Gurudev has one godbrother named Krishna Das Babaji. He left the world, but of Madrasi Krishna Das Babaji. He's also a disciple of Siddha Sri Sakhicharan Das Babaji. And he had an interesting thing he would say to his disciples, who also came from ISKCON or other Gaudiya Sanghas, you know.
Yeah.
He said, always respect your Vartma Pradarshika gurus. Like, and he would give the example of Bilva Mangala Thakur, who at the beginning of Krishna Karnamrita offers respects to Chintamani, his Vartma Pradarshika guru, who was a prostitute. You know, not saying anything about ISKCON like that or anybody, but the point is, like, however it is that brings you to the path, that you have the connection to Sri Gauranga and Radharani and Krishna, that is something, in my opinion, to be cherished, you know? And, you know, I don't know. People think in all kinds of different ways, and everyone has different experiences. ISKCON's like, to call ISKCON a one thing, I think isn't a correct way. There are so many branches of ISKCON and different mentalities and abusive things that happen to people and terrible situations and wonderful situations. I got lucky, I think, and I had incredible experiences in ISKCON, you know, with really wonderful devotees. And I'm still friends with all of them. So, you know, like, it's like Vrindavan is many different sanghas
like
all together.
You're going to Vrindavan to see, and you're going to meet with Brajendranandan Maharaj, who's your old friend from a long time ago.
Right, yeah. So So,
How does he feel about? I mean, not to put words in his mouth or whatever,
Yeah.
but just from your interaction with them.
he just said, he believes that there are other Vaishnav lineages that are
Yeah.
fully powerful to take everyone to the highest goal,
Yeah.
But if you take initiation outside of ISKCON, serve outside of ISKCON, right? Like, don't test the walls of an institution, because people come in, hey, not this house, this is our house, or whatever. And I was like, that's Maharaj, that's great. I'm so down. Like, I'm serving my Param Gurudev with a group of people, a wonderful translator, Nitai Das, a great scholar, Neil Delmonico, actually is translating the Gutika.
Someone was telling me to interview him also.
Oh, you should. He is an incredible scholar and a disciple of Kishori Kishorananda Das Babaji, Tinkodi Baba, I think is his name. And he's godbrother.
Wait, Tinkodi Baba, who's the guru of Vinod Bihari Babaji?
He's also the guru of Nitai Das Ji, the Neil Delmonico, who's currently translating the Gutika of my Param Gurudev.
Okay.
So my Param Gurudev used the verses mainly of Yadunandan Acharya in the lineage, I think, connected to Kanka Mata Goswamini, Bengali verse to kind of put the Gutika in Bengali. And it's a long text on Ashtakali Alila Smarnam as a manual for bhajan, for meditation, for, in Raganuga Bhakti, you find that you're attracted to Krishna in a way, in serving Krishna in a mood, and you pursue that, you investigate that, you occupy your mind with that topic, and that becomes the forefront, And so a manual is a great thing to have that just explores the day, a day in the life of Sri Gauranga and his associates in Navadvip, along with Radharani and Krishna and their associates in Braj. So Gaura Govinda Lilamrita Smarana Gutika.
No one's ever translated that?
Not into English. Perhaps, I don't think that there's an English translation, but this Gutika especially, that was compiled by Siddha Sri Sakhi Charan Das Babaji Maharaj, and also compiled by my Param Gurudev Madan Mohan Das Babaji Maharaj, is especially a highly revered copy.
Wow.
Gutika means a drop of medicine or something sweet. So it's a drop of nectar from the pond, So anyhow, by chanting Hare Krishna, all things are there in the Nam. So when the Nam gives the hunger, it's nice to have some more fuel for the fire,
I've always appreciated that about you. Like, you've always talking about Krishna and Vrindavan. Like, every time you ever call me or I ever call you, you're always like saying something about Krishna. And I'm like, this is what Krishna consciousness is about. Like, whatever happened, like my friend Jay Jagannath was, when he ever hears like of some controversy with devotees, he's always like, whatever happened to people just loving God?
Yeah.
And that's something I appreciate about you a lot.
One thing to remember, thank you, Namrasji. I always love talking to you also.
Thank you.
But, one thing is, there's always controversy, even between the Parivars today.
Yeah.
There's something. And at the time of Keturi festival with the Narottam Das Thakur Mahajai, Janava Mata settled all the differences before they begun the Sankirtan.
Really?
Yeah, she had an address to the entire Vaishnav community that kind of let everyone see the relevance of the other person's point of view, the other groups.
Yeah.
And then they had the huge Sankirtan where the whole Panchatattva came and danced in the Kirtan. So this is the thing. Like, there may be differences, and that's fine. In Braj, there are many moods and many different groups of Sakhis, Sakhas, and Brajvasis serving Krishna in different ways. There are secret things, there's competition, there's deception.
I've heard about like the daily activities of Radha and Krishna, but I've never heard about Gauranga.
which is a beautiful thing. Yeah, the Navadvip Leela is very small. There are a few texts, and it's beautiful. Srivas Thakur's garden is the place. In the night, there's the Sankirtan. In the morning, Mahaprabhu returns to his home of Sachimata, and then there are activities throughout Navadvip during the day. But the thing is that through the kirtan with Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu is relishing the topics of Radharani and Krishna. Swarup Damodar Goswami is reciting the songs of the Radha Krishna Leela, and then all go into the trance and enter into the Braj Leela in Navadvip. So this is also, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, through Mahaprabhu, we attain Radha Krishna. That's the gift of Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
You know, Mahaprabhu came. Mahaprabhu told Lokanath Goswami, there's nothing I want more than the whole world to understand Braj Bhav. The natural passion, we say spontaneous, but the natural passion, pursuant love of the Braj people, ultimately of Radha for Krishna. Gauranga came to taste that and give that, you know. Delivering the demons, that was external situation, external reasons in the Adilya. External reasons of Mahaprabhu, deliver the world. Internal reasons, distribute the ras, you know.
What has been your Guru Maharaj's like emphasis? You know, in ISKCON.
Hare Krishna, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kelavam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. One thing, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's
Something
it.
about your Guru Maharaj, who I've met maybe twice, who I had the pleasure of meeting, honor of meeting. He's a very mystical person. Could you tell me more about, like, he doesn't do astrology anymore?
Yeah, he just retired from astrology.
Right.
So, yeah, he's a very mystical person. He has many cities, and with those cities, he served the Brajvasis and people, Vaishnavas, for 70 years of his life.
How old is he now?
He's 84. Oh. So from age 14, at a young age, he developed these things. He doesn't talk about any of that stuff. I've just heard some small things from him and some people, you know. His main thing is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, chant Hare Krishna names, then everything will come. Everything is in the Nam. He said the proof of this is Aindra Das.
Really? Yeah. Aindra Prabhu used to go to him quite often.
They were close friends, yeah. And he loved Aindra Das, and Aindra Das also loved him, yeah. Oh. So, you know, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is Yuga Dharma. So yeah, anyhow, not anyhow, but you know, back to the point, back to your question.
Yeah.
So he, my Guru Maharaj, he had some, you know, benediction to speak to Katyayani, ask her any question, and she would come and answer the question. He also would use pranic science to understand any situation, past, present, future. Also reading the mind of others, and many other things. Throughout Braj, he's well known as the person like this. And he told me one thing. He said, don't become rich, but take care of everyone around you. Mm-hmm. And his life, you can see this, like simple living, but always serving the Brajvasis. Every night, almost, there's milk distribution at his ashram on the Parikram mark.
Yeah.
And
like
prasad,
across from Kusum Sarovar, basically.
A little bit down.
A little bit down.
Yeah. And, you know, simple. Hare Krishna Mahamantra, milk distribution, and now it's prasadam distribution. And he would take the Lakshmi from Jyotish and things like this and serve the Brajvasis. But now that he's just retired from the astrology work, somehow people are donating more. And it seems there's prasadam distribution happening regularly. So, anyhow, he told me something interesting. He said, this is our punya karma. punya karma. He said, yes, that's our pious activity. Distributing mook on the Parikram Marg is a pious activity for our future birth. I said, future birth? He said, but won't we attain the Nitya Leela? He said, but even when we attain the Nitya Leela, we'll say to Radharani, oh Radharani, please let us come back to Braj. So, because in Braj, there's the Harinam Sankirtan and the Parikram Marg and the Leela Smaranam is very difficult in Golok by body only we're doing, but in earth we by mind. And Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is there, and there's no Giridhari in Golok, only in the Bhoma Leela is Giridhari and many, many sweet things about the Braj pastimes. Braj Bhumi is no ordinary place. We're so, actually everyone here that's even listening to this podcast are some of the luckiest people in the entire universe. This planet is Braj Bhumi. This is a dham. On earth is Navadip and Braj. Also, Krishna was just here. Once in the day of Brahma, Krishna comes. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also came. We're like right now.
Yeah.
You can go to Navadip and see the shoes of Gauranga.
Yeah.
You know? And they'll put them on your head. It's an extraordinary circumstance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Radharani said, Garga Samhita, Canto 1, your parents' books, but this, Radharani said, I won't be happy. It's in Canto 1, the verse. I think, Yatra Govardhano Nasti, Yatra something. Krishna said, Radha, I'm wanting to go to do some leelas on earth or somewhere. And he said, you will come? She said, no, I won't come. I won't come. He said, but why not? You won't come with me? She said, where there is no Govardhan Hill and there is no Yamuna and no Vrindavan, I won't be happy. So Govardhan came, Yamuna came, and Vrindavan came. Replica of Golok. Actually, Golok is here. These things are from Golok that are here on earth, and it's an extraordinary situation. I can't even fathom. Even the people who just are apparent materialists on this planet must be very fortunate to be to think about that. In reading the Puranas, oh, those people are on the planet of Govardhan. Like the planet where Govardhan resides.
Yeah.
Wow. This is the thing. I take it for granted. I just lately started thinking like that. I was like, wow. But anyhow.
And by occupation, you're a tailor.
Yes, I'm a tailor.
But something I'm interested in is about what you're trying to do in Vrindavan along with your occupation. Could you tell us more about your project there?
Yes, hopefully we're hoping to open, the big scope is we want to open some textile mills and redirect agricultural focus to Braj, increasing wages and education, literacy, and things like that. Mm-hmm. But starting with like basic clothing production and textile mills, growing fibers, reinvesting the money into farm fields and preserving the fields of Govardhan, Barshana, Nandagram, Yavat. It's such an early in the stage of the project. I don't want to talk too much about it.
Yeah.
But it's just, but the long-term picture is just like Vrindavan's wonderful and the guest houses are great and so many people can come, but everyone's seeing this, that heartbreakingly, step by step, the fields are disappearing,
Yes.
But the fields are still there at Govardhan, at Yavat, at Nandagram, and Barshana. And I think that if it's possible to create a economy where it shows that maximum profit can come from agriculture and a profit that can be for the whole people of Braja, it will be well received, and also like it will preserve the agricultural heritage of Braj, you know, which is Braj is agriculture. Braj is, I mean, to have textiles grown from Braj Raj and the kundas that are deep, the springs deep within the earth. The well water from Vrindavan is the best water, is Braj milk, you know, the well water from Braja. I mean, nothing could be better. And so, you know, I'm
So, like,
really, I'm trying to figure out how I can get my hut in a farm field easy when in the future. But
So
you
like
know,
cotton grown in Vrindavan.
cotton grown in Vrindavan, flax grown in Vrindavan, wool.
Then that's made into cloth and
Right. So my idea is like, yeah, so the way it works is in the farm fields, we grow the fibers. Then the fibers are made into yarn, which can be dyed by natural plant dyes. And from that point, fat textile mills, jobs are there, and garment construction can happen. Education of people how to perform those jobs. And also, there are a few different business models where they're paying people more than they expect. And by doing that, you can kind of change a people, you know, and you know, open schools and things like that. So in other words, like a large profit margin can be had by all these companies that produced in Bangladesh and all this stuff. They're producing the stuff for so low because they're producing it with a model like this. Low costs, right? And people still profit greatly that are on the other side, but they're getting a huge profit from America. And in the capitalist structure, it returns to the pocket of the greedy. You know? And so when we return it to the land of Braj, you know, return it to the fields, preserve the fields, you know, whatever it is, like reinvest it in you know, I feel like I'm going to get calls from like Modi or something after this, you know. He's like, all right, we're serious about it. Like, where do we start?
You might,
you know,
maybe not Modi, but
maybe some Swami or something.
Yeah.
But like, you know, but I'm serious. I mean, you can call me, you know.
I'll put his contact details in the description.
But you know, like it could happen, and it would create jobs for devotees who want to. Oh, it would create jobs for Vaishnavas who want to live in Vrindavan, you know, and jobs for people who live there. You know, I mean, there are people who are tailors in Braja who are driving Uber now because it pays more. You know, and like this, a lot of the artisans from all across the board are switching to other things just because it's more lucrative, and everyone has to survive. And nowadays, inflation is getting insane, and people are getting pushed down by the greedy, you know.
And then the art is lost.
And the art is lost, and the culture is lost, and it's just because it's a struggle for survival.
Yeah.
It's not anyone at fault. So it's just a refocus, a shift that we're just trying to cause by really grassroots things such as making garments and, you know, and also deity clothing, you know, human clothing and deity clothing. So
It's really nice. I hope that after you get it going, we can know about it and get a website or get information that we can share.
Oh, sure.
With everybody if they want to support it, because that's a great initiative for preservation. It's like a huge thing.
It has to happen.
It has to happen.
It has to happen, because otherwise the future might not be so great.
Yeah.
Like places will be lost, you know.
Yeah.
Just roads come through, but you know, if you drive to Terkadamba at 4:00 when the sun's setting, this is the time when Krishna walks there with his cows, and Radharani's watching from Yavat and Varshana. And then you can go to Varshana, and you know, there are still electricity wires, but there you can see Nandagram from Terkadamba. And from Yavat you can see Nandagram now. Clear view with fields.
Wow.
So like that can be maintained.
Yeah.
But it takes like a unification of people instead of like separation of individuals. all struggling for survival and to come to the top. But artists come together, we can make a great future for Braj. You know.
Something that I want to go back to what you were talking about how people have struggles and get all kind of mental about that. If I don't follow this, or I'm not able to follow this process of bhakti, then that it equally shows that either Krishna loves me or Krishna doesn't. That if I follow this, he loves me more. If I don't follow, then he doesn't love me. Remember how you were saying that?
I know that. Yeah, that topic very well.
I love that topic. If we want to elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so bhakti is bhakti. Bhakti is always pure. One time when after I first received initiation from my Gurudev, I said, Gurudev, from the tailoring work, my hands are sometimes my hands are sore and they're stiff, and I get pain from just my work alone. I can't pick up my mala. I said, Gurudev, I can't chant my malas. I'm sorry. I feel so bad. He said, there's never a bad feeling in the bhajan. There's never a bad feeling in the bhajan. Bhajan is always positive and happy and full of love. So if you can't chant on your mala, then chant 24 hours a day, internal and external, all things solved. And with a happy heart, continue. Bhakti is pure. But when people make the mistake to think that vidhi, rules and regulations define bhakti, they set themselves up for failure. Because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur even confirms in the Madhurya Kadamini that when someone makes advancement in bhakti at a certain stage, they can't follow the rules anymore. And if they're trying to follow the rules, if Krishna is merciful to them, he'll make it impossible for them. So they'll become humble. You know, oh, they can't keep their vow. They can't keep their vrat. Oh, Krishna, I can't do it. I'm not so good. Will you please be merciful to me? So Krishna wants to see the softness of our heart, not the hardness of our heart. And vidhi makes someone hard. Oh, I'm so paka. Look at what I can do. What is that? Pride. But that pride won't attract Krishna. That rule won't attract Krishna. That love will attract Krishna. You know, and that's the thing. That love will bring Radharani's mercy. Radharani saying, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. We really are thinking we want to get the attention of Radharani. But Krishna, Radha says, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So when we say Krishna, Radharani's happy, you know. But Radharani and Krishna, they're pleased with the bhakti. Gauranga is pleased with the bhakti, the love. The rules and regulations, sometimes in my own life, it can be like, if we can't follow this or that, sometimes people who are new to like any particular practice think that, you know, they're so staunch and so strict and following all these things. That's what makes them a devotee. Like in the ISKCON society, there are the 4 regulative principles. And people think, oh, you know, no criticism. I mean, basic principles of human life. Most people should do that, you know what I'm saying? But like, I'm just saying, like, that doesn't make you a devotee. That doesn't make you a bhakta. Even I'm trying to become a bhakta, you know, like a bhakta is a great thing, you know, but following rules doesn't make you a bhakta. Following rules makes you a rule follower, you know, and like, if you can't follow the rules, it doesn't mean that Krishna doesn't love you. Radharani and Krishna love you. You know, Radharani and Krishna love you. But you just need to like see that, you know. That's the turning up the cup. Also, Vinod Bihari Babaji Maharaj, I saw one lecture, he was talking about this, you know, to Shri Sajinandan Goswami Maharaj, you know. Like, you know, like, it's like that. So like,
so
it's
beautiful.
It's just, the love is there. And that naturally in following Rag Bhakti, you'll see that the Raganuga Bhakta, the person who's following their passion, is also following Vaidhi Bhakti, usually like one or two processes of Vaidhi Bhakti, mostly Nam Japa and sadhu say like Nam Japa, Dambas, and Jivadaya.
I know devotees, and myself have also, beat ourselves up for not sometimes being able to either, chant a prescribed number of rounds or other principles or whatever it may be. And then we think that, oh, Krishna, he only love us because we are doing these activities.
No, it's not the
following
case.
These rules.
Yes, it's not. Krishna is captivated by the love.
Yeah.
Krishna is not, of course, when laulyam happens, when greed happens, Nam is constant. And they say, oh, Vairagya people sometimes say Vairagya is a sign of bhakti. So they say, okay, then let me be very renounced. So then I made the sign of bhakti. No, it's not. But bhakti is not the sign of Vairagya.
Yeah.
Like by becoming, when bhakti is blessed on our heart and awakens in our heart in a very strong way by kripa of like a saint or Bhagwan, then things will pick up, like when bhakti awakens, then naturally vairagya sometimes will become manifest. Like you'll see in the real vairagis, like Raghunath Das Goswami. He wasn't being a vairagi. He was absorbed in bhakti, braj bhav, and that braj bhav bhajan was so rich that naturally he's not thinking, oh, yeah, eat something, oh, I forgot to put a roof, on my head, or like this, So, but he wasn't like, oh, let me sit outside with no roof in the hot summer sun, and then everyone will see that I have bhakti, right? And Krishna, so like, if you can't, the main point is like accepting the Radharani and Krishna in your heart, and pursuing those. Remembering is the main activity of Raganuga Bhakti. Remembering, smaranam is the main activity of bhakti. It's the main activity of the mind. Everything, all of the other angas of Vaidhi Bhakti are meant for there to be smaranam. Everything is described, it's confirmed through the Puranas, through the Bhagavatam, innumerable verses in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in Vaidhi Bhakti section and Raganuga Bhakti section. They cover this topic again and again. Chaitanya Charitamrita also. But smaranam is the main topic. If you can't chant, then remember Krishna. Remember Radharani and Krishna. Accept Radharani and Krishna. If you can't follow the rules, proceed with your bhakti. Don't let it stop you. That's my advice. Even